Hello, here's a video that demonstrates how Webley Revolver works. Webley is a British revolver that was used between 1887 to 1970. I'm going to be using a free-to-play video game called World of Guns to demonstrate this. You can download the game yourself from Steam and play around with it yourself. Alright, let's get to it. So, this game allows me to hide parts of the gun, and I'm gonna be doing that. I'm gonna hide some of the framing so you can see what's going on here. I'm gonna hide this and this. Alright, that's good. So, alright, so let's fire the gun and see what happens. Right, so if I show this to you like this, so you pull the trigger and it fires the gun. So as you can see, this is the hammer here, this is the hammer, and this hammer has to hit the back of the bullet here, the back of the bullet, and once it does hit, like this, once it does hit the back of the bullet fires, and it goes through the tube. Make sure it goes in a straight line and it goes to its target. So how does that work? What are the mechanics? Well, when you put this, so first things you want to know is this thing here is a sort of a spring. It's a piece of metal that is at resting position like this, but when it's compressed like this, it wants to go back to its initial position. So when it can, it goes like that. So how do we do this? Well, there's a bit here, as you can see, this bit of the gun right here. Right, so when you pull the trigger, you push this thing up until it can no longer hold it, and once it can no longer hold it, it goes back, and this spring here that we talked about earlier pulls this firing hammer very fast. It hits that and it fires. But okay, so that's the basic firing system, but this is a double action revolver, which means that it also turns the chamber, the bullet chamber, at the same time when you fire it. So let's see how that happens, because it's doing those at the same time. So this part of the gun here, this was the part that pulls the hammer, and this other part on the other side of it, this part moves the chamber. So let's see how this goes. Well, as you can see right here, there is a bit of a thing that pulls this these bits. I'm not sure what you call them, but sorry. So this, when it moves forward, it also pushes the barrel on, like it rotates the barrel. It pushes the barrel upward, but it's designed such a way, you know, this what do you call it? This sort of design, I guess, is designed in such a way, the angles are designed in such a way that it basically rotates. It turns a upward motion into a rotation motion, basically, like a sort of a gear, like a certain kind of a gear, right? So how does that work? Well, when you pull the trigger, you're pushing this thing forward. You're pushing this upward, not forward. You're pushing this upward. It turns this around, and as you can see, there's also something here, this thing. So this thing normally is back there. When you pull the trigger back, it at the same time it pushes the other thing upward. It pushes this one downward, and so what this do? Well, if we go back to one of the things we hit, these, you can see these holes on the chamber. Well, this goes inside one of these holes and keeps it in place. So the chamber doesn't normally move unless you're pulling the trigger. So when you're pulling the trigger, this goes down, it releases, it allows the chamber to now move forward, so normally it can't. So now, the other thing here, this pulls it upward, and once it goes back upward all the time, to the maximum extent, it can, the thing goes back in there again and keeps it in position before the firing pin starts going down. So when the firing pin is hitting it, it cannot move, it cannot be moved, so you know for sure that the bullet is right where it needs to be, so the firing pin can hit it. Alright, so that's the basic firing mechanism. There's also another firing mechanism with cocking. So instead of you pulling the trigger and it moving the barrel and firing it at the same time, you can cock the revolver, and what that does is that it only rotates the barrel, and then once you fire it, it only needs to fire the pin. So probably it's gonna be easier. I've never shot a revolver myself, but probably it's gonna be faster to fire from a cocked position than to fire it normally like this, although I'm not entirely sure how different it is, because like I said, I've never fired one. But here's the cocking system. For cocking, you just pull this backward and you don't need to do anything else. Yeah. Alright, so what happens when you pull this backward without pulling the trigger at all? So when you normally pull the trigger, as we saw, you're pushing this bit up, but now you're pushing the other thing back without pushing this up. So what happens is that because you're using your hand instead of, because the thing is being moving, because this firing pin is being moved by your hand instead of by the trigger, you can push it back more than you normally do. So more than it normally does when you're firing it in double action. So what happens is that this pin goes all the way back, but it doesn't fire. Like it's gone all the way back here now, like here. It's gone all the way back, but it's not firing because you're holding this with your hand. You're holding the firing hammer with your hand, so you can pull it even more back. And what that does is that it puts the trigger in this hole, and as you can see, once it goes in this hole, it has a little bit of room to go back up again. So that's cooking. And when you want to fire it, now if you fire it, you can see that you can basically in that little area, in this little area right here, it can still go up just a little bit. So the trigger is pulled almost all the way back, but not completely. So now if you pull it a little bit back, it goes like this, and it fires it. And that's your firing, cocking and firing separately. That's how it works. Alright, so how do you reload? So for reloading, you push this down, you push this down, and normally this bit here is holding your barrel down. If you can see, there's a bit of a metal down here that this thing holds your barrel down. But if you push it back, now nothing is holding the barrel down, and the barrel can move along this axis. So as you can see, normally you wouldn't be able to move this, but now you can, like this. Alright, so let's take a look at what happens inside here. So to reload, once that thing is pulled back, and you can see the spring is compressed here, and then it can decompress. So how does that work? So you can see when you're moving this, it compresses this spring here. This spring here is being compressed, and this bit here this is holding it in place, and once it's pulled back all the way, it can decompress. And the key to that is this bit right here. This little bit here, it's stuck. It's stuck here. If we can show, right, so this is stuck here. There's a bit of metal, so this is the frame, and this thing is stuck here, as you can see. And once you go all the way, it can be moved upward until it's fully open. So once it's fully open, this thing has been pushed upwards. Normally it's down here. Once you push this, so this frame here, the frame of the barrel, is pushing this up, and once it's fully down, it's pushed all the way up. So normally once it's here, up until the point where it is holding, where the gun's frame is holding it like this, this bit here is holding this spring in check. So the spring is compressed, but it can't decompress. As soon as you go all the way down, so it becomes 90 degrees, this gets freed, and now the spring can push itself downward. And once you put all the other things in, you push it back, and as you can see, once you're doing this again, it comes out again from here. So let's see, let's unhide these parts. Right, so you should be able to see this coming out again like this. Right, so that again holds that in check. And what that does is that while you're reloading, when it's on the, when it's not fully opened, it holds the thing in place, so it doesn't eject your bullets until you take it all the way down. And that's the functions of the Webley Revolver. That's how the Webley Revolver works. Alright, this is another part of the game World of Guns, and this part allows you to disassemble the gun. I'm just gonna do it so people who don't want to install the game can see the gun's disassembly as well. But I'm not gonna do any commenting on this. I'm just gonna allow the game to disassemble it and record it.